Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the St. Louis Podcast. I'm one of your glorious hosts, Garrett Atkins, the CEO of Vi Media, founder of HuSTLe Studios, West County Insulation, Game Pass Counter, PS Plus Tracker, writer for Forbes.com via the Forbes Agency Council, verified on Facebook and Twitter because Elon Musk and I are best friends, and I'm alongside my co-host, the Chief Sales Officer of Vi Media, Managing Partner of West County Insulation, and the winner of the Best Beard in the Midwest from Time Magazine, 420 years in a row, Eric fucking Brown. Eric, how are you today, sir?
Well, my dad gave me a case of wine last night, so doing pretty good.
Nice. Happy to hear it. Today we have Jeff and Randy Vines on the St. Louis Podcast, and we're going to get into the weeds with them. But before we do, this is the St. Louis Podcast, where each and every Friday at 7 a.m. Central Standard Time, we drop an episode of the St. Louis Podcast on all major podcasting, audio, and video platforms, such as Spotify, Apple, YouTube, major social media platforms, and more, where we interview a new or recurring badass, or in this case, badasses, figure out their story, talk about the state of the world in a satirical and sometimes serious manner, and talk about things you can do to be an even bigger badass in the world of business. If you like the idea of that, you can become part of the show and get it ad-free by supporting us over on patreon.com/the St. Louis Podcast for as low as $1. Again, we're running the I Just Started My First Podcast special and giving ad-free episodes and other goodies over on patreon.com/the St. Louis Podcast for as low as $1. Cheaper than the coffee or energy drink I'm drinking right now that will surely lead to a heart attack in my early 40s. If you don't want to give us $1 because you hate us, no problem. You can watch the show live or later on youtube.com/the St. Louis Podcast, just like Katie Baker or Matt Parker is right now. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're watching live or later and we say something wrong, say something you hate, or say something you want to hear more about, you can visit us at stlouispodcast.com and leave us a message telling us all about it. This episode is brought to you by HuSTLe Studios, the #1 recording and podcasting studio in the world, with a location here in St. Louis, Missouri, in the Midwest, United States. If you want to start a podcast, this is the place to do it. Go visit halfcoaststudios.com. Now let's jump into it. Today we have Jeff and Randy Vines here with us at HuSTLe Studios in St. Louis, Missouri. Jeff, Randy, how are you today?
Hey.
We are great. Happy to be here.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. I know Katie, who's part of the St. Louis Podcast team, was trying to locate some guests, looked into the two of you, and thought you guys had a good story behind you. I know you were just saying you were over at Vox Magazine today, right?
No, that was a Zoom interview. Zoom? We're doing the whole interview circuit today, I guess.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, nice.
So we're jumping from one, and now you guys.
Any other interviews in the pipeline?
Not yet, but let's make it good and get the phone.
Get some more.
Yeah. Well, before we jump into this, we had a couple questions. You guys are obviously, for those who are watching.
Let me take away the bio real quick. Let me introduce our guests.
Introduce.
So Randy and Jeff Vines, thank you for joining us today. Identical twins, in case you guys can't tell. Urbanists and historic preservation advocates, active with the Urban Revitalization Organization across the country. And as far as kind of the business started in 2001, you teamed up with a graphic designer and started creating St. Louis themed, T-shirts, and also started a production studio in Soulard. But at that time, you guys were still working normal jobs and doing that at night. 2008, you got national attention when featured on the front page of the New York Times, which that's awesome. Back then, before, or maybe you still could. And that was actual real articles. Now just people buy articles all the time, and they're like, I was
yesterday.
Yep. And in 2010, you guys opened up Style House on the corner of Cherokee and Compton. You guys are still there. Quit your day jobs. Fast forward 11 years, and now you offer a line of original, locally sourced St. Louis goods, as well as a full spectrum of custom graphic design, screen printing, and ad specialty services for companies and organizations. So, first question I got: who's older, and is that a point of contention?
Well, we'll make you guess. Who do you think's older?
Him.
Everyone says that.
You're wrong. I am 9 minutes older.
There's a small difference in your facial structure that makes him look slightly older than you do.
And by the way, we don't dress like twins on purpose, but usually we just
this is fucked up. Actually,
I know it is fucked up.
I'm just gonna say both your names and never single one of you out.
We answer to both. We're conditioned like that, but we will show up to work sometimes and wearing the exact same getup, the entire, and we were always anti that. We hated dressing.
We don't like being cheesy like that.
We're into that twin shtick thing.
Yeah.
But I guess nature.
Yeah. You guys ever showed up to a date with a girlfriend or whatever in place of one another?
We have some stories. I don't know how detailed we should.
Oh man, well,
as detailed as humanly possible.
Fun in our younger days. Long before the internet.
But most people who are close with us can tell us apart, so we're not fooling anyone except ourselves.
That's true. Yeah. Well, I guess just first dates off Tinder then.
Where
could get away with it then.
It's a whole new world.
That's right. Tinder is too contemporary for me.
It's a whole different version of catfishing.
Yeah.
Oh, true that. Yeah, we're very old school analog, kind of like, low tech, lo-fi.
Well, we're also married, so it's not as fun.
No, I don't want to get in trouble.
We're not that freaky.
So, Red Brick Mama, tell us about that. I'm assuming this is related to your storefront. Where did you get the name? What is it?
Red Brick Mama is just one of many of our St. Louis-centric designs that we have on the wall. If you walk into our shop, we have over 200 St. Louis-themed designs, and people can pick whatever design they want from the wall, pick their shirt color and size. We print it on the spot in about 4 minutes.
Okay.
But Red Brick Mama is what we affectionately call St. Louis because it is the preeminent brick city, and that's really one of the defining characteristics of St. Louis. Is it's red brick, and it's the first thing visitors comment on when they visit our store. So
so it's a nod to
our
distinctive urban fabric, our built environment. They don't build cities this cool anymore. It's a Red Brick Mama badge of honor.
Sure.
Yes.
Solidarity.
Yep. So I know you guys focus a lot on or just focus on historical preservation. So you guys like architecture. So where did that kind of come in? Obviously that associates with Red Brick Mama. So where did that love come from?
Since we were in junior high or before, we loved St. Louis. We would hop on the bi-state bus. We grew up in Creve Coeur, and we would
not too far from here.
Right, very close. We would hop on the bi-state bus and explore different neighborhoods throughout the city, and with our friends, and usually with a camcorder in hand or a camera, and we just immersed ourselves in the city. And
we always, coming from the suburbs, we always loved the experience that you could only get in the city. Like once you cross Skinker, it's a totally different world.
Yep.
And we just liked that. It was edgier. It was more character, more urban swagger, And that was something that always inspired us. We always loved those urban qualities and found them, en masse in St. Louis. We didn't have to leave our own city to find it. So that was just one of those driving, inspiring, touch points about the city that got us into this whole STL style brand.
Sure. Yeah. Eric and I are both from Eureka, Missouri, out by Six Flags. Yeah. Sure, you guys are familiar. But it is, for those
Wildwood.
of you... Oh, yeah, my bad. He went to Eureka High School, so he can talk himself.
He's from a suburb of Eureka.
Yeah. That's right. Even further from any highway that matters. So that said, we're both from there, and that's way west of the city, not too far, like 25, 30 minutes. That said,
it's about as far west as you can go.
You're still in St. Louis County.
Yeah. It's as far west as you can go for the county. Yeah. So that said, that was pretty much our whole life is like you'd go to Eureka, you go to Wildwood, you go to Chesterfield Mall, and that was basically growing up for us. But then we both moved, after we graduated college, we got a place together downtown off Washington.
Awesome.
I was there by myself for a year, and then after that, 2 years following that first year off Washington, I was like right off Washington and Tucker, which is a good spot to be.
Yep.
Well, depends.
It was a little hairy at times.
Yeah.
Well, it's the city.
Yeah.
The second 2 years, him and I got a loft downtown, a little 2-story loft down there, and that is a completely different world than being just 10 minutes to the west.
Sure.
Yep.
And it's a great experience. When we were down there, a lot more bars were open still. And this was way before COVID.
Bobby's and Dubliner. And
we have great stories.
Lucas Park.
We used to trek those streets in the 90s. And before there was a loft district, it was still like the kind of warehouse.
The garment district.
So those buildings were still with
yeah.
manufacturing.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
I got my homecoming suit at Knickerbocker.
Yeah.
Really?
We would go,
Okay.
there was an elevator attendant, and he opened the old school elevator door.
Pull a gate, and there's a dude in there with a hat, and what floor you need? And
It
then
felt like New
cranks-
York. It really did. And the guys, they were tough talking,
Yep.
kind of scruffy guys who would take our measurements, and it was like, we are not in the county anymore.
and all the hustlers and the people
Yeah.
on the streets. That
Guys selling gold chains.
was a
and
very different
fake
environment.
Rolex watches.
Interesting.
Yeah, before moving downtown, the most city I ever got was like going on a trip to the city museum with my parents and grandparents, and then and then going to Crown Candy,
Yeah.
because my grandpa used to work in the city as a police officer and a delivery driver for many years.
Made me crave a BLT by bringing up Crown Candy.
Yeah, no, Crown Candy's good. That's still around, right?
Oh yes.
Yep.
Field trip.
Is it still popping in a
Going
hot
strong.
spot?
It is,
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely.
Yep.
Hell yeah.
Yep.
Going strong.
So yeah, besides Crown Candy and City Museum, I never went downtown until him and I decided to move down there.
Choice.
And man, that was a good time. I mean, there was also Empire Pizza, if you guys know what Empire Pizza is. You know where Delfino's is? Off Washington and Tucker?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that used to be Empire Pizza, and I'm sorry, Delfino's, but Empire had really better pizza, arguably. It's subjective, but not really. So that said,
I think it was just poorly ran.
yeah, well,
most
Empire was
restaurants.
very poorly ran. They gave me lots of free pizza that probably put them out of business.
Wow.
That said, it was really good, and there was a lot more bars. Ballpark Village hadn't like annihilated the bar scene downtown yet,
Yeah.
because right now they basically have a monopoly on the bar scene. I mean, now there's the Foundry, the Armory is opening up, so there is some diversity, but they're all like super large entities compared to the small mom and pop bars that were down there prior.
Yeah,
So-
it was really hopping in the mid 2000s. That was the place to
And
go.
there used to be several like 24-hour joints down there, like Jimmy's.
oh yeah, Jimmy's
on,
Diner.
8th
That
and
was-
St. Charles Street. Man, that place was legendary.
That was
Go
a
there in
cast
the
of
middle of the night,
characters.
and you felt like you were in a movie. Yeah, because you never knew who was going to walk in, but it was random.
Is that still around?
No,
No.
That is, it's now a parking garage. It was right at
upsetting.
It was 8th and St. Charles.
Okay.
remember?
Okay.
Yeah.
What's your guys' favorite spots downtown?
Oh man. Well,
Food, bars. If you drink, I don't drink anymore, but
Well,
most
you
people
know,
do.
in the say in the larger city limits of St. Louis, because I don't really, admittedly, hang out downtown
Sure.
specifically that much anymore. But we like the Cherokee Street's really our stomping grounds. I mean, we're totally spoiled on Cherokee because there's such a wide variety of all kinds of different places and people and experiences.
Yep.
So we kind of, and we're also old. I mean, we're probably older than we look. Well, maybe not. We got hair. We're 44 years old.
Okay,
so
yeah,
we
you guys look younger.
We
than
don't
that.
have the energy to go out like on the town like we used to. You know, it's just not the same. I don't think I fully came out of COVID, that whole hibernation phase where
Me neither.
I'm happy being home a lot.
Yeah.
The great thing about St. Louis is that there's something for every mood you're in, so it's hard to narrow it down. But I would say one of our all-time favorites would be Frank and Helen's, which is in U City on Olive. But that place has been around since 1956. Our dad, when he was in high school, would go there because he grew up in U City, and it's like a place where generations of families go, and it's just
Truly
consistently
a
great, and it
throwback.
hasn't changed. It's
Yeah.
the same.
What kind of place is it? I haven't
It's
been.
like a throwback, old school mom and pop pizzeria.
pizzeria. They
Nice.
have roasted chicken.
No
they have a great
frills.
menu.
Huge
a lot-
menu.
A lot more than pizza.
But it used to be a car wash. The building was built inside an old car wash, and it looks like that. It's very linear and narrow. Nothing has changed.
yeah, the same fixtures from 1950.
That's why I like going to O'Connell's.
Yeah,
Yeah.
O'Connell's is another
That's an
mainstay.
institution.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there are so many. That's the cool thing about like living in such an old city. There's always going to be those like mainstay staple establishments that you just rely on. We can't ever take it for granted. And Bob Kramer's Marionettes, rest in peace, is a lesson. You cannot take these institutions for granted because they could disappear.
Oh yeah, no, in a blink of an eye.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about your business. It seems at least two-sided, maybe more. You can tell us, but it looks like you guys do design and service clients in that way. but you also design clothing, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So our whole brand and what we're kind of become known for, we're the original really St. Louis branded apparel company. You know, there are many that have popped up in recent years, some maybe even higher profile than we are these days. However, we were early. We were the first ones to really dedicate our brand to, you know, promoting the city and doing it in a cool and honest, funky, artistic way. So, you know, this all started as like a sideline hobby back in like around 2000. We were still in college. And, you know, we were always so proud of the city, and there were not cool shirts back then that we wanted to wear to like show it off. So we started making our own. And it really caught on because that was right at the same time. It coincided with like this movement of back to the city. There was this organization called Metropolis St. Louis, whose sole purpose was to just, you know, get people excited about the city again, educate people about what the city has to offer. Anyway, we started getting involved with that stuff, and we had found this great audience and these friends and cohorts that like felt about the city the way we did. And they wanted to buy the stuff that we were putting out. And so we kind of hustled them. I remember we used to take our backpacks on Metrolink trains and sell and peddle like St. fucking Louis t-shirts on the trains on the way, you know, as people were going down a Cardinals game.
Tell us about that. Any crazy stories from doing that?
There was, remember when we were selling St. fucking Louis shirts and the cop at Busch Stadium. And right outside the stadium, and the cop said, you can't sell those here, but you know, you're gonna have to leave if you're wearing that. But give me one, and I'll let you in. So that's exactly.
God bless that.
We bribed him, and I respect that. He was doing his job, but he also knew a good shirt when he saw it. So,
and that shows the corruption of the police department.
Well, you know, that should be the worst thing. But our very first festival was on Washington Avenue. It was the Washington Avenue. They had a summer street festival back years ago, and we sold completely out of everything we brought. And that's when we really knew, like, we better, you know, this has legs. We better see where this takes us. So.
Yeah, and you know, back then it was very easy to generate like buzz. So, you know, there was something that had some cachet about two twins from the suburbs who fell in love with the city and are creating these shirts to promote the city. And that, you know, next thing we knew, we had like a blurb in the RFT or St. Louis Magazine, and then the news, you know, some news segment wanted to interview us. And so it just kind of like snowballed very slowly and organically over time. And before we knew it, you know, we had this like brand that was bigger than we ever expected. And it was always a goal. Like we would have loved to just quit our jobs and do this full time, but we never thought we could ever do that. We're not business minded people. You know, we have good ideas and creative energy, but we don't know anything about finances and taxes and all that. HR stuff. But somehow we kind of got our bearings, and one thing led to another, and we rely heavily on our awesome staff and those around us who helped us get here. But so fast forward to 2010, we did quit our jobs, and we've been full-time at this ever since. And so
and growing every year.
Yeah. What's the bigger focus, the clothing or servicing clients on the marketing asset / graphic design stuff?
Good question.
That's a great question. You know, the fun part is the retail stuff. Of course. That's our face to the world, you know, and we enjoy that and love thinking of creative ideas. But honestly, that does take a back seat to our custom business, which is really what sustains us, you know, when it's not the holidays or around special events and things like that.
Yeah, so like our shop and our retail line, that's what we love to do. That's what we started doing, and that's how people know us. But it is secondary, I think, as a revenue stream then to like, you know, the custom stuff.
The business side.
Custom stuff for the City Museum and Schlafly and the Cardinals and the Blues and, you know, even the show Modern Family on back when that was still churning out new episodes. We do a lot of custom stuff, you know, bulk printing and design for these other, you know, entities. And neither could exist without the other. So
Sure.
they wouldn't even know we exist without our St. Louis line.
That's how it is at our marketing firm too.
yeah,
The big businesses are what sustain us, like the big clients, but really working with the smaller clients and taking someone from hundreds of thousands to millions. That's what really gets me going. Whereas a $1 billion company we're working with is, what pays the bills more or less.
Right.
And so I understand that.
And it's those smaller relationships that really that's the stuff that matters.
Yeah.
You know? That's where you build your credibility and your relationships,
And you already started to answer the question but it leads into my next thing, piggybacking on what you were saying about working with City Museum, Blues, et cetera, Schlafly. Who do you partner with on this stuff?
Tons. I mean, our client list is like
St. Louis Public Radio,
KDHX. I mean,
WashU,
SLU.
we're doing
So a lot of St. Louis staples.
Cam, Contemporary,
and beyond too.
We work with a New York-based athletic clothing line called Four Laps, which was actually founded by a native St. Louisan.
Okay.
We've been working with them for several years, and we got some stuff. We've done some
the
stuff.
Catskills,
Yeah, there's a
kind of random
hotel. There's a lodge in the Catskills in New York that we do stuff for. There's a business in Seattle and DC. I mean, it's weird. Sometimes we pinch ourselves. We're like, what did we do to
get this?
And I mean, how they find us?
From?
It's so random, but we don't take it for granted. We appreciate it, and we treat every single, every order as if it's our first.
Yeah.
And I think that's what has enabled us to sustain this.
Yeah, you want to treat every client as your first, last, and most important, because that's what's going to get you the next one.
right.
Yes.
That said, this is, of course, a business podcast in part as well. We own an advertising agency, so we're familiar with the fact you got to have marketing, word of mouth, referrals, or something to sustain your business. What are your guys' primary traction channels for getting business to you? Is it word of mouth? Is it referrals? Is it advertising? What is it?
Well, that's changed a lot in the course of the life of our business. We used to take out ads in the RFT back when print media was a thing.
Yeah.
But really, it's been almost exclusively social media. And admittedly, we're getting a little burned out on it. And I think we were a little more prolific a couple of years ago. The thing about, with Instagram at least, Randy and I both had our own personal Instagram feeds long before we made one for our business.
Long before businesses even thought to do that.
Right.
Yeah.
And so for a long time, we resisted even starting one because we had 12,000 followers each on our personal pages. And we're like, how can we just, we'll be sloppy seconds if we started one for STL Style House. But we did eventually because we know it's a necessity. And so we're, gaining followers, but we don't pay to get followers, and we don't.
Our whole identity is really based on no pretense. We do not like to be pretentious. We like to be accessible and real, just like unfiltered, real, like the city, And so we don't go out of our way to put on the gussy up image or whatever. We're just really real, something that everyone can relate to. And I think that kind of human quality is what generates, some good feedback and a following.
Yeah, it's part of your brand and identity as an institution.
Almost intentionally under the radar, but not to be too cool just because we're just too lazy or distracted with other things to really invest too much time in the messaging,
Sure.
So we just put out whatever comes easily to us.
But, we realize that it's imperative to be on social media, and we would not be here. We wouldn't exist today without it. And there's definitely room for improvement.
But I would, to answer your question, I would say word of mouth is our single biggest driver. And just by virtue of being around this long in the St. Louis community, we're at an age where a lot of our peers are the ones making decisions and the ones who are handling custom merch for their companies and this and that and their special events. So it was just a lot of good timing, and good luck.
Yeah.
But there's something, their combo worked.
Yeah.
So we'll
my stance on social media, we are a digital advertising agency, so social media is kind of a byproduct of having a digital marketing agency. That said, if I could press a button to get rid of social media and not have it damage my business or others, I would jam that button so fast.
Right there with you.
I think the repercussions of its
I think most
growth,
people would agree with that. But when it comes to push a shove, they'd be like, I don't want to delete it.
maybe most people are and older.
Because you feel like naked without your social media, you know. I mean, but what have we lost?
Well, another important aspect of our marketing, I guess you could say, is sponsorships that we do. We do, we donate a lot of product each year to various organizations or fundraisers that are like-minded, you know, and that we want to support. So
what does that apparel look like?
It just
is
depends.
it designed apparel that you're sending?
Yeah, usually some of our pre-printed stuff that you'll find in our store.
Okay.
You know, that's a great way to introduce our stuff to people who might not otherwise find it, you know, or see it, and also, you know, reinforcing, you know, positive relationships with like-minded organizations.
Yeah.
Yep.
For instance, like, you know, if organizations having an auction to raise money for something, like, you know, Planned Parenthood, we just donated a bunch of our merch, you know, to one of their events to raise money so they could use it in their like silent auction, whatever.
Yeah.
You know, the proceeds are there. So, you know, we try to align ourselves with causes that we believe in, and vice versa, and then it just works.
Yeah, well, that's you guys just talked about giving away free stuff for basically building rapport and getting in front of new prospects and basically as a marketing strategy, and that's a good thing to touch on.
And giving back, of course.
Yeah, and obviously, but of course, there's usually strings attached. You know, there's benefits to giving back. Like even if you're doing it just to get back, there's always benefits, regardless of intention. That said, lots of people out there, especially people, I want to say 30, 35 and younger, have a totally different perspective on doing anything for free, giving away anything for free, and the whole exposure bucks routine. Whereas I kind of share the same theory you guys do, where, I mean, I can't tell you the amount of times we've done something. I mean, we do something for free every time we sell someone at the marketing agency because we do a full free analysis of their online presence. That said, there's a lot of institutions, companies, freelancers, business people who just, I guess, completely frown upon the act of doing so because they just can't wrap their head around that. And obviously, it's worked for you guys. It works for us. So that said, AI designs. I don't know if you guys have been paying attention to AI graphic design, how that's going to affect your industry. I know AI is really about, I mean, it's already blowing a hole in a good and bad way in the copywriting part of the digital marketing industry with the growth of ChatGPT, which you guys have probably heard about by now. That said, have you guys looked into AI design?
Nah, not really. You know, I'm assuming you're referring to artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
Versus an AI file was like Adobe Illustrator, which is
that's exactly what
we work with a lot. But yeah, I mean, we'll be the first to say, as we were saying, we're kind of like analog. You know,
we're like St. Louis. We're set in our ways.
Sure,
for better or worse. But you know, it's not that we don't adapt to changing, you know, trends and dynamics. We certainly can. But our natural comfort zone is stuff that is tried and true that we've been doing, you know, unwaveringly since we started. But you know, we do realize we're going to have to get with the program on a lot of this stuff. We are increasingly seeing more requests for different kinds of, you know, file types and, you know, experiences that we didn't ever think of before because they didn't exist. So, you know, it's a constant learning curve.
Yeah. On the come up, while you guys were still working, you guys started the same way I started my business, which you were doing it on the side while working a full-time job, right?
Yes.
That was both of you, correct?
Correct.
That said, during that process, how supportive were friends, family towards the beginning?
Well, friends were very supportive because we started printing shirts on our friend's kitchen table in Dogtown in about 2001.
Yeah.
So
that was the original studio.
That was the original.
Yeah.
Whether they liked it or not.
Got it.
They helped us design stuff, and they were our customers as well.
Sure.
Our parents were kind of skeptical, but
our parents were really supportive. We're very close with our parents. We love them. Shout out to them. Yeah. But you know, they're from a different generation. So we were dreamers, and we had these these lofty goals to be able to do whatever we want and make money somehow doing. And they were more realistic. They were like, that's great. We want you to have a passion, but you got to think about the other. What about this and this and this? And how are you going to turn that into, how are you going to make money? How are you going to pay a mortgage and all?
Good question.
Like everything else, we figured it out.
Yep.
And and now they're our most diehard, fervent supporters. They are. They just can't contain their excitement.
Yep,
yeah,
exactly
I think
right.
they're no longer worried about us, which I don't know if that's good or bad either.
Yeah.
But yeah, we kind of
they were very cautious. I mean, I don't think they embraced it until they started seeing us be successful.
You on the front page of New York Times.
Yeah, that kind of silenced them for a little bit.
Yeah.
But even that was a surprise to us, and that was like a one-off.
So how'd that happen? How'd you get the introduction? Did someone reach out to you? Were you introduced? Or?
You want to know? It's I don't want to convolute the story too much, but I'll give you the abridged version. Like you guys said in the intro, we're really big on urban affairs and urbanist development and lifestyle, all these things. We love cities, especially old cities with problems. And in the mid-2000s, there was a great organization called the Great Lakes Urban Exchange, which was like a collective of urban makers and doers, thinkers, who were trying to collectively solve problems that were common in the Rust Belt cities, like Detroit, Cleveland, Pittsburgh, St. Louis, Baltimore, cities that are all come from similar ilk. They're like legacy cities that once reached greatness, that
faded glory,
fallen on hard times, and they have uniquely, unique opportunities and challenges. And so we used to go around the country to these different cities with these friends we made through GLUE, Great Lakes Urban Exchange, and we just like hobnob with these people who are just, where have you guys been our whole lives? We think about this stuff just like you do. There was a girl there who was interning for the New York Times, and she thought our story about, promoting the city via T-shirts was like a cool, fresh, novel idea. And so she pitched it to one of her editors at the Times, and several weeks later, we got a call saying, hey, this is so-and-so from the New York Times, how are you? Thought they were trying to sell me a subscription. And they said, we actually, we looked into what you're doing there, and we think that something as simple as a T-shirt can really transform how people think of their cities. And we want to fly a reporter to spend an entire day with you and get a sense of what about St. Louis makes you tick and get a feel for your glimpse into St. Louis. And so they did. And they flew her in. She spent the entire day with us, and we took her to all the parts of the city that we just love, And,
the good, the bad, and the ugly. We wanted her to see the real city.
The real city, like warts and all. But she totally got it, and she was really enthusiastic. And then she left on a flight that night, and for, a couple months went by. We didn't hear anything. We're like, I guess we're not newsworthy. No surprise there. We never expected it to go anywhere, really. It was just like a special interest. Well, we got a call from our friend in Brooklyn about, 3 months later, and he says, y'all motherfuckers are on the front page of the New York Times. And so we had to go.
Well, I remember
So you guys didn't even know?
Well, we didn't know.
We didn't know when it was going to be published.
She might have told us that it was going to be published, but I don't think even the writer knew.
I don't think she knew either. It was a surprise to us that it was published.
Yeah, 2008, when people still read a print newspaper. And I remember very clearly walking down the street in the Central West End, and I saw a couple reading the Sunday New York Times at Coffee Cartel. That'll age us. It was open. They were literally reading the article, and they had no idea that I was standing over their shoulder, and it's the same person that's in the picture they're looking at. So was, it doesn't get much better than that.
It was wild, and that was that pivotal moment where, from that point on, we could no longer just treat this as like a sideline thing. This is bigger than we thought, because we started getting orders online
from all over the world.
Our then very primitive
That was like
website.
your sign.
Yeah, it was a sign, and we started getting more orders than we could handle. From people, St. Louisans near and far, people in Israel and Iraq and Australia, and every state in the country, all over the place. And the St. Louis diaspora is very big. So people wanted a way to connect with their city. They liked what we were about. They liked our shirt designs, and I guess that's the rest is history.
Sure.
So,
what's the biggest challenges you guys have both faced as business owners?
I would say one of the biggest challenges is, keeping a line between friendship and employees. That's a hard thing because
Same.
really, yeah, we spend a lot of time with our crew.
Yep.
And we're friends with them. We have a lot in common, and so it's hard. I do not like being confrontational, and I really don't like being an authoritarian at all. So that's an ongoing challenge for me, I would say.
for me, I would say just the expectation that, we have to, responsiveness is very critical in what we do.
Yes.
So we have to respond personally to almost every single inquiry, even if it's a very, minor thing. It gets daunting to do that because we want to keep it, authentic to us and who we are, but also there's a lot, and especially as our business grows and our workloads grow, it gets very, very challenging to try to respond and engage and maintain that communication easily with every single person.
Yeah, it's hard to do that at scale.
Yeah.
I mean, when
definitely.
you got probably the first 5-10 years, that was relatively manageable. But now what you guys started the grind in 2001, we're in 2023 now. I imagine by now that's very draining to try to maintain the same level of engagement with your audience that you were when it was 1/100th its size.
True. And we're older now. So we're married. We have domestic lives. We're parents, we're married, and we don't have the same, FaceTime in the city that we once did. We don't go out 4 nights a week like we did. We're not at every single event that we would be interested in like we used to be. So, it's like kind of achieving that balance and keeping it going in a place that's comfortable for us is always a challenge.
And as you know, as entrepreneurs, a lot of people think it's really sexy that, you're your own boss and you're a business owner.
That saying gets so annoying.
Yeah, well, it's
You're
not
your
really
own boss.
true.
Yeah.
Really, every customer is our boss, right?
Right.
And if we don't do right by them, then we don't have a job anymore.
Right.
So there's a lot of pressure. It's not like we can just clock out at 5 and forget about it.
Right.
Or the control your own schedule.
Exactly.
That's always a fun one to hear
Our
too.
schedule controls us.
Right. Yeah. And it's, there's a lot that if we don't do it ourselves, it's not going to get done.
Yeah.
So,
No one's as invested as us as business owners. Right? So certain things are only going to get done by us, even if we try to get other people to do them and try to delegate properly. It's hard to work on your business, especially as a small business. Sometimes it's hard to work on your business rather than in your business as badly as you need to make that transition to grow at scale and become the next best version of yourself.
Right.
So,
Right.
What are you guys currently working on now that you guys have in the pipe? Maybe new evolvements?
Ooh. Okay. Well, I don't know. I don't think there are any rules against disclosing different clients. I'm really excited about one project I'm working on for Tums. Which is based in St. Louis.
Oh, that's a big one.
Yeah, downtown.
Tums is based here?
Well, it's owned by a parent company based in the UK, but their manufacturing operation is headquartered in St. Louis, downtown St. Louis, since 1905 in the same
by Busch
location.
Stadium.
I won't say it out loud, but we know the company that makes the shape of Tums.
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
They're also based in St. Louis.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Or
The dye machine? Or the pill?
Yeah. So there's actually in pill manufacturing, there's actually separate companies usually. Sometimes it's done in-house, but sometimes they hire out the actual shaping of the pill. So Tums is a very specific shape. It's actually part of their branding, obviously. And so a separate company outside of Tums proper manufactures that. The company that does Tums specifically is an engineering company actually here in St. Louis. Someone that's part of the family that owns that is a good friend of ours.
Yeah, so they make the machines. Yeah, that Tums will
I'm
use.
so glad I mentioned it then because I would never have really thought of that.
It's not very interesting, but nonetheless, it's something.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh, that's awesome.
I don't know
It
if
makes it even better.
Yeah.
So, I mean, so we like these things, these little, like this useless trivia that we love it.
So what are you guys doing with Tums?
We're doing we're just some custom design
Okay.
to commemorate Tums Day in St. Louis, which is April 10th. They have a day that was proclaimed a resolution, as I understand it, in the 80s by then Mayor Vince Shamel, commemorated official Tums Day in St. Louis, April 10th. And so
Really?
they do a thing,
I've never heard
a
of
company thing. It's really internal.
Yeah,
But they
that
wanted
makes
something
sense.
to
That
give
makes
to all
more
their
sense.
employees that they could, like have to take with them. So we're designing a cool t-shirt around that. And, that's a fun one. It's always good to pick up these legacy, companies that have a connection to St. Louis, and they're like now in our cadre now, we get to work with them now too. So.
And we're continually rolling out new products and stuff. Are we ready to disclose anything? I'm not really sure.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, we do.
We've got a lot. And we're also planning our 13-year anniversary party. So TBD. We don't have the details worked out
Looking
yet.
at June, but we'll be closing Cherokee and Compton.
Let us know about that.
Yeah, we
don't
for sure
go to
will.
nearly enough events.
Hey, Katie, make note of that.
It's going to be fun.
So we went over who's older, who's smarter between the two of you,
Naturally.
We both have
What
a
a dumb
different answer.
and is there anyone are you guys both co-CEO / co-presidents, or is there how does that work? Because
we call each other co-creators and co-owners, but we do have different roles. I would say Randy's more the face. He's out the custom accounts. Right?
Maybe more kind of.
He goes to the big important meetings and speaks publicly, and I'm more internal vendor relations and the inventory stuff like that. And then we have a crew who we could not be here without.
100%.
The crew, man, they're the best. They're the ones who make our dreams happen. So.
And they're running the shop now. So
Yeah, exactly.
And in regards to St. Louis, because you guys have made it very clear, I know you guys don't hang out downtown as much, or at least you said that. Well, neither do I. That said, you guys used to hang out downtown a lot more. You guys have probably been a lot more involved in the city than we have over the years, even if we were the same age as you. That said, what are some, one or two pretty crazy stories about hanging out downtown?
Oh my God, where do we begin?
Well, the first day we moved onto Cherokee Street, if that counts.
Yeah, well, Cherokee Street. I don't know. Do you guys have any experience on Cherokee Street?
Familiar, yeah. Our one of our employees lives right down there. So I like the. What's the restaurant down there? The Indian restaurant or the Mediterranean restaurant? Excuse me. That's
that's gone now.
That might have been the Saudi Arabian place.
Yeah. What was that called?
The palm trees. Well, I don't know if that's what you're talking about.
No, there was something else. Remember where the by the tattoo parlor?
Yes.
What was that called?
I can't remember the name. They're not there anymore?
No, it's not there anymore now.
That was good food.
Yeah, it was good food.
That wasn't you
remember Maxie's?
Yeah. It wasn't the palm trees though.
Well, was it called that?
Yeah, it was called the palm trees.
Oh, the palm trees. Okay.
Yeah. But I mean, I don't know. Maybe you're talking about a different. There have been a lot of, there's high turnover in those kinds of districts. But when we were coming up and really getting into the city and taking the bus down with our cameras and our friends and doing our TV show on the weekend, Cherokee Street was known as a red light district. It was the seedy part of the city. You didn't want your parents to know you were going there. And we used to go there after school, and there were all these porn shops and, bong shops.
Yep.
You'd buy bongs there and, smoke joints with our friends after school.
Yep.
And it was just a kind of a risky endeavor for some West County suburban kids, right? But the first day, but as Cherokee started to evolve, and there were a lot of artists and musicians that were starting to repopulate the vacant spaces over the years, and then we moved in to the west side of Cherokee, our storefront, which is kind of a little bit further west than the core business district.
Yep.
And at that time, it was really kind of desolate over there in our little corner of the neighborhood. And we'd see a lot of open drug deals and prostitution and all this stuff. The first day we moved in, we were waiting for our couch to be delivered. And we're standing outside, and God love her, a Cherokee.
A working girl.
Was walking by, and she paused and saw, she goes, "You guys twins?" I'm like, "Yeah." And she said, "I'll do you both for $50." So I was what a nice
welcome
offer.
to Cherokee Street.
And it sounded like a pretty good deal, but
that's
a thing for twins.
Yeah,
right?
hey.
It's a BOGO. Buy one, get one.
Yeah, right.
It's a deal.
And it was just cool, just one of those random encounters that really just only happens in the city,
Yeah.
And it reinforced okay, we made a good decision because that's cool, And I mean, over the years, I can't even tell you how many crazy stories. We've had people come in to try to.
Did you guys make a shirt with that on?
No,
Yeah,
but we
Oh my
should.
God, that'd be so
should.
funny.
We got to be careful, you know.
It's
we don't want to step on any toes unknowingly.
That's
yeah. Well, we can make her famous, I guess.
Yeah.
But
It's been long enough.
yeah, right. It's probably she probably
2 for 1.
Yeah, short-term memory. But you know, we've had it's the funny things are like the hustlers who come in and try to sell us random shit that who would ever want
Like
this
used razors.
you know, there was some guy came in, this was in around 2012 or so. He comes in with a bag of frozen something, and he said, "Hey, you guys want my mom makes good turkey. This is turkey she made from Thanksgiving. It's been in the freezer." It was March.
Yeah.
And he comes in trying to sell me frozen turkey from last November. And I mean, I love the guy just because he had the balls to ask.
That's what I'm saying. I want to hire this guy for
Who is
sales.
saying yes to
Where's he
this
at?
sale?
What I want to know is how, out of all the things, he literally had nothing better than
Right.
turkey
That was it.
from Thanksgiving, and it was fucking March.
Right.
Like,
It
you
was-
couldn't have found
I don't
like
know if it was March.
a
I think-
pencil.
But I
I think
think
it was December, but it was still like, something that we wouldn't even consider.
no, not anything.
Even
But an A for effort.
Yeah, right.
And that like it was memorable. I remembered it. So.
Another thing. Oh, sorry. I
No,
didn't
you're
mean to
good. Go ahead.
Well, I just thought of this, but our building was hit by runaway vehicles twice in 1 year.
One
the
was
first-
a
Wait, what do you
police
mean?
car.
What do you mean runaway?
Like literally, a car crashed into our storefront and twice.
Unmanned vehicle.
Right? No,
Well,
a manned
it was
vehicle.
manned.
Oh.
It was
but
the first one was a stolen car that
Okay.
was speeding
in a chase.
through the intersection and spun out of control and smashed right into our front window. And then 8 months later, a police cruiser that was pursuing a stolen car lost control and careened into our front entrance.
Yes.
So
wasn't that just a couple years? I don't.
It wasn't that long ago.
It was
They
like
were-
2015.
the
or something.
RFT did a piece on it because they thought it was kind of funny too.
I feel like I remember this. I remember the story of a police cruiser going.
Yeah.
yeah.
through the-
What are the chances? I mean, and you know, in our intersection,
I guess the criminal got away.
Who
I have no
knows?
idea actually.
That or he ran him over.
Yeah, yeah.
But you know, our corner of Cherokee and Compton is like the quintessential example of the St. Louis stop, which is not a stop at all. It's a roll.
Yep.
And we have a shirt for that.
Yep.
So
Okay.
Stop sign that says roll instead of stop.
Well,
We know all about doing that downtown. All right, we don't want to. What's statue? Whatever. We used to roll stop signs all the time.
oh my God.
Stop
yeah.
lights.
Any time we drive,
Red means green.
Right.
we worked in DePere when we first moved downtown, and we knew once we made it past Central West End, we weren't getting pulled over no matter what the
Right.
fuck we did.
Right,
so
right.
it was just a race from Central West End to our apartment off Washington.
Yeah. Yeah.
Every single day after work.
Yep. You
Yeah.
cross Skinker and the traffic laws stop
Oh,
memory.
yeah.
Yes.
They have worse things to worry about
Right.
than us blowing a stop or speeding on the highway.
Right.
So.
Right.
Yeah.
But all right, Jeff and Randy, before we wrap up today's episode, what social media profiles, business of yours, et cetera, would you like to plug for the audience to go out and follow?
We will first plug our brick and mortar shop, STL Style House, at the corner of Cherokee and Compton. We're at 3159 Cherokee Street in beautiful South St. Louis.
Open every day but Monday.
And, you know, online, www. Do people say still do
No,
that?
no. STL.
STL-style.com. So don't forget the hyphen. And then, you know, it's all our social media or on Facebook at STL-style.
No.
Instagram.
Okay.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's what we are.
We'll link to your
Instagram
stuff as well.
At
We'll link out to your
STL
stuff.
Style House, and then I don't know what else is there. I
Yeah,
mean,
well,
we're-
Twitter at STL Style, and then we have our personal pages. I'm on Instagram. I'm STL Gasm.
and I'm Style Vines. So.
STL Gasm. That's good.
Yes, yeah.
Well, St. Louis, thanks for listening today. If you want to learn about cool things like if you're a twin, you can get a discount on a prostitute or other really good business tips, please tune back in next week. Jeff and Randy, Eric, that's all the time we have for today. However, the St. Louis podcast will be back again next week at 7 a.m. Central Standard Time on Friday with a new episode, new guests, and unfortunately, more of your host, Eric Brown, and myself, Garrett Atkins. It's been a pleasure speaking with you today, Jeff and Randy, and a pleasure hosting this podcast for the people of St. Louis. Until next time, this is Garrett Atkins signing out.